Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here this afternoon for what will be episode 5 of the BangCast. I'm, of course, Greg Guy, joined here by Mr. Casey. We're going to do a little bit of a different type of BangCast this week. Almost a little throwback to one of our earlier segments about headlines of the world. So, hopefully, you'll enjoy it. And if you do, remember to drop that down in the comments if you want to see more content like this. And also remember to like, share,
and subscribe.
Hit that bell button! Ho, 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 ho. That was actually pretty good. Yeah, we're making fun of you, cuz. Anyway, so, like I said, the general concept of this is, we're going to go through and have, a brief discussion on, a few news stories here on, or going on throughout the course of the week. So, you pretty much prepared most of this, Casey, so I'm going to just toss it over to you.
So, we decided on going with the first story here, is that the U.S. and Australia are doing a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics held in Beijing, China.
What exactly does that all entail? Are they still sending the athletes?
Yes, the athletes are still going, but the politicians, maybe VIPs, will not be attending from Australia and the U.S. I haven't heard of anybody else boycotting, but for now, it's not really a real punishment. They're not really. Who cares? Who cares whether the diplomats go or to these things or not?
On top of that, Winter Olympics.
Yeah, Winter Olympics. I like the bobsledding. Personally, bobsledding
Bobsledding's cool.
And luge. And I like to watch the skiers try to commit suicide by jumping off giant freaking jumps.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah. You've obviously watched that, right? These dudes are flying like 80, 100 feet in the air.
Yeah. It's definitely...
Ooh. How much of a lunatic do you have to be to do that particular type of sport?
I don't know if I wouldn't do it. That's for sure. Not without a parachute, at least. They are flying through the sky, and it definitely looks scary just watching them. You get the feeling that somebody's going to die.
Well, and that also traditionally, that does happen, time, in like bobsledding and also...
Oh, yeah.
Luge.
They are definitely very dangerous sports. They are very high-speed sports.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, and the reason for obviously the boycotting is the forced internments, sterilization, forced assimilation.
Quote, concentration camps, as some people call them.
We can call it, it is basically a concentration camp in the sense because they're killing these people. The Uyghur Muslims, which, by the way, this has been going on for a very long time. This is not new. Everybody knows it. How they are allowed, how politicians and people of power haven't been speaking out this. Well, first of all, we know why. It's for money. They're defending and they're trying to hide the fact that morally, in every single part of the world, this is just completely unjust and completely uncalled for, and it's disgusting.
I do want to bring up the point that, obviously, as far as internment camps, we all know the really bad one, that happened. But, at the same point in time, after Pearl Harbor and everything, the United States back in, World War II era, they also, created the Japanese internment camps.
Right, but
however, we didn't, probably perform the same heinous acts, I would say, that are more or less going on, I would assume, in these Chinese camps.
We treated them probably more like prisoners. Yeah. These people are basically, I I don't know if it'll catch the word, but they're not. They're treated like people that are forced to do work and not get paid for it. So you can think of the word.
All right. So more of a labor camp.
A labor camp where they sterilize you and take your body organs when they feel like they need them to sell to rich VIPs.
There you go. You heard it first. Black market livers on sale, boys.
So let's move on to the next one. Let's go with DeSantis, the governor of Florida. He's calling for a Florida military force to be created.
Okay, now you know, as our resident veteran, what do you see that actually being?
A National Guard.
Okay, I mean, don't they already have a Florida National Guard?
Right, but this is the reason. This is the reason what mainstream media isn't telling you about this story. That it's coming on the heels of the Defense Secretary warning that National Guard members who are not getting the poke are going to be their pay is going to be withheld. Mm-hmm. So those members of the Florida National Guard can just unilaterally move over to the Florida Defense Force or Florida Military Force. Which, by the way, these things aren't new. There are these kinds of forces, militias, all over the country. There's at least 24 other of them, and the only thing is they're not controlled, or they're not controlled by the federal government, and that is why mainstream media thinks that they're scary.
Yeah, okay, I see two things here. Number one, I basically see this as a way to circumvent, what is attempting to be, going on, from a national level.
Right.
Versus, a particular state level. I mean, do you concur with that?
Right.
I mean, it's very good that these soldiers, keep their pay and everything. Number one. Number two, could this potentially be a way to ensure that there is no chance whatsoever that these members of the Florida Defense Force ever lose their personal firearms? Because the Second Amendment specifically states a well-armed militia, if they are technically a militia.
Well, that's true. The well-armed militia. So basically, there's nothing against the law. In fact, the law actually encourages a well-armed militia to be present. Also, keep and bear firearms is another law that is also part of, and the beginning part of that.
Right, Second Amendment.
So they can't stop it. That's just the law. That's just the way it is. As much as people would like to take away those rights and change that, but it's never going away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that I could potentially see that as being, total way out, because there you go. That's a direct violation of the Second Amendment, especially if they call that particular. What were they calling it? Florida Defense Force? Florida
Defense Force.
Okay. They should call it the Florida Militia. Period. End of story. Said and done.
It's historical, basically. Yeah. So let's move on to the next thing. Next thing we got is Chris Cuomo is fired from CNN for stalking his brother's accusers. That's the way it was put. I didn't really read that much into it. I don't know what he did, but obviously obviously he shouldn't be reporting on his own brother's stories.
Right. Yeah, agreed. I mean, there's obviously going to be some sort of bias there.
Right.
At the same point in time, I also heard that he was in a 4-year contract with CNN, making $6 million plus a year.
They get paid a disgusting amount to be actors. and by the way, I mean actors. They are creating physical fantasy a fantasy world which doesn't exist. I tried to. In fact, when I was going through these stories, I was really trying hard because I was going to make you angry by putting a CNN story in this, but I couldn't find one that made any sense whatsoever in the real world.
I mean, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, that is, in my opinion anyway, as a byproduct of mainstream media, having to basically rely on, bringing in advertisements and advertisers, so on and so forth. So, it all boils down to, ratings at right. The end of the day. If people aren't watching on it, clicking on it, or whatever, they're not showing their ads, they're not getting the ad revenue. I mean, it's a business, realistically, and it's all about, who, in my opinion, that, they can get into power that will have their interests, in the back of their minds as well, after they reach that position of power.
Let's hop into a little bit of pop culture stuff, because we're run through some political stuff. So I consider Jussie Smollett's story a pop culture thing. Found guilty on 5 of 6 counts, could face jail time, more than likely is going to face a very large fine from Chicago Police Department.
Well, I believe that they're talking about forcing him to pay for the investigation, which right. was, upwards, I don't know, I've heard conflicting numbers. I believe one number I heard was like close to $1 million.
I mean, I don't know how much money he was making on whatever show he was on. Empire. I do know that he did it in order to make more money, to try to make himself more popular, and to get his name out there, and it's 100% backfired on him, and it's right. going to end up costing him, if not just the money that the Chicago Police Department, his entire career.
Okay, how much, or how familiar are you with, the details of the investigation and the trial and everything?
I am somewhat familiar. It's not like I deep dived into it, but let's be honest, once you heard the story and how outrageous it was, that 2 people are going to be stalking them in the middle of the winter at negative some odd degrees.
Out in MAGA country in the middle of Chicago.
Yeah, MAGA country out in the middle of Chicago, carrying around a noose and a bucket of bleach.
Okay, did you hear? Okay, first of all, it's important to point out that his 2 assailants
right.
from this video testified against him for the prosecution and everything, right?
Right.
It's also important to say that his 2 assailants and him filmed a dry run of yes. the attack before. I mean, if you're gonna falsely follow a police report, don't have conflicting video evidence of your dry run at the attempt of doing it.
Down to the bone, Jussie Smollett is a idiot. Dumb.
Dumb. Joseph Smith was a dumb.
All right. Let's move on to our next story. I mean, we'll stay with something a little bit more serious. The Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I watched the video of what happened the day of it actually happening, because I heard about the gunshots and stuff like that happening there in Wisconsin, and I turned on YouTube and I just looked it up, and there's actually like live coverage, and then videos thereof that were fresh, brand new, fresh, a couple minutes from an hour ago to a couple minutes ago. That's reporting on it, and it was nearly 100% certain from that moment that it was self-defense. The kid was being attacked, chased, attacked, ran at. I don't know if you have anything else to say on it. We keep
Well,
the segment short.
I mean, the one thing that I did want to say is, I mean, yes, he did kill 2 people. The third guy he shot, I believe, was like a convicted like child rapist or something.
No,
Actually, no, one of the people.
The first guy. The first guy was a convicted child rapist.
Well, he did the world of service.
That had just been released from a mental institution.
Yeah, I believe I did hear that too, but I'll reiterate again. He did the world of service.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure he didn't. He obviously didn't mean to go out there and for this to happen.
Right. I mean, he was running around with a medic pack, trying to administer first aid to people.
And he did administer first aid.
Yeah. So I mean, my whole problem with this is the way that, once again, mainstream media, kind of crafted this narrative where, like, he just, shot black people because it was a Black Lives Matter protest.
Let's do.
Which, after we found out, the facts of the case was not the case.
Right.
But, okay. That leads to the question, why did mainstream media keep pushing that narrative?
Yeah, that is.
That is frankly the really disturbing part of this.
They did the same thing not to the same extent, but with Smollett.
Yeah.
They're trying to push a certain narrative, even against all the facts, ignoring all the facts of what was happening, and in fact lying to their viewers in many cases. Why?
Okay, well, I have a theory on that. I believe it's because they want to increase the divide. That way you can either put people in one camp or another camp, and they can try and control, the size of the camps.
You would imagine, though, that once people figure out that you're blatantly lying to them in their face, people would stop watching.
Right? Yes, you would hope that, but obviously, we know that is not necessarily the case. Unfortunately. Wake up, people.
Let's move on to some lesser serious type pop culture events that are happening. Alright, so next up we got, let's do a little bit of science here. Our first science is going to be face masks that glow in the dark, glow under ultraviolet light when it detects COVID-19. Created by Japanese researchers.
All right, I have a question.
Okay.
Does it detect COVID from you or from around you?
It detects whatever you're breathing on. The mask itself on the inner layer has a filter on it. Obviously, it's kind of like they all have kind of filters on them to keep you from breathing through. But it glows under ultraviolet light and it's detecting your own breath. So it's detecting COVID from you.
Okay, so yeah, from your particular person, not from others.
Right.
Because, that would be awesome technology if they just had a bracelet you could wear that detects COVID. The virus, as we'll say.
It's science. It might be one day be possible.
Get on it, science.
Everybody's got ideas. You're an idea man. Everybody also has something else.
This is a valuable brain. After my time has expired, I will donate my head to science. And hopefully I will be like one of them, characters on Futurama that are just sitting in the glass. And I'll sit there and be like talking to you and shit.
Well, you got to become famous first, because if you're not famous, you're not sitting in the same tubs as all the other.
What are you talking about? I have to become.
Alright, so they're doing this by using ostrich antibodies. So birds in general, they have a very strong resistance to disease. And they're using ostriches because, besides other birds, and they're using their eggs. So obviously these are very large eggs. And the antibodies themselves are larger and more easily visible by light.
Yeah, I have to assume that an ostrich is probably one of the largest birds out there.
I would assume. Yeah. We got peacocks. Is ostrich bigger than a peacock?
Yeah.
What are those other ones that spit on people?
Oh, that's a llama. I don't
Llama?
think that's a bird.
Okay.
I think you're thinking more or less of emus.
Emus, that's what I'm thinking of. Emus. So Is the emu bigger than an ostrich, or is the ostrich bigger than an emu?
I don't know. I believe emus are, for the most part, native to Australia.
I don't know.
If you know if an ostrich is bigger than an emu, let us know down in the comments, because we would like to know.
All right, so moving on to the next story, we have the Gemini meteor showers. They're going to be happening probably before this actually comes out, but it's going to be happening between December 13th and 14th. The sighting of these things...
So that's like, what, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Right.
Oh, no, that's like Monday,
Tuesday. So
Wait.
in the middle of those 2 days,
Yep.
so Tuesday morning, 2 a.m. is the best time to see it. They're saying that you're going to be able to see 150 meteors per hour. And you're going to be seeing them by looking into the southwesterly sky.
Okay.
And they are coming from a near-Earth object by the name of 3,200 Phaethon, which orbits the sun every 1.4 years.
That's interesting. Did you hear about this, like, other near-Earth object, which they predict has a high probability to strike the Earth in, like, 77 years or something like that?
I don't know anything about that, but there's probably somebody that should be doing a section on it, you know what I mean?
Oh, kind of some sort of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics segment, huh?
Could be something.
Get to work!
Could be something in one of those segments, yeah. So it's called the Gemini meteor. So basically the asteroid is the 3,200 Phaethon. Meteorites are coming off the tail end of it, coming into the Earth's atmosphere. And it's called the Gemini meteor shower because it's coming from the direction of the constellation Gemini towards the constellation Orion.
Orion?
I mean, I can call it Orion, right? Potato.
Okay.
What's wrong with the way I say Orion?
Orion?
Orion? Orion.
You're the only person I've ever heard call it that.
Well,
Never in my entire life have I ever heard anybody call it that.
I'm starting a fad. From now on, Orion is called Orion.
Let us know down in the comments if you're watching out there whose pronunciation you believe is correct. Orion.
So the next subject we have here, popular mechanics.
Good.
Mercury is the closest planet to every other planet in the solar system.
How is that possible?
So, if the planets are orbiting the Earth. Some planets might be completely on the other side of the solar system as the other one at a time, if you're considering the orbits. So, at any over time, and on average, Mercury is going to be the closest planet to any other planet. Not at any single given time, but on an average of over time.
All right. Now, okay, that's basically just because of its short orbital cycle.
I would imagine, right?
Which I have to. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's like 90 days.
I don't know any of that.
So I mean, realistically, I could see that it doesn't necessarily take a smart person to come up with that, theory.
Well, they ran the numbers on average.
It might take a smart person to do mathematics.
Right. I'm sure they use the computer. Nobody does mathematics nowadays.
That's true. Very true.
All right, so let's move on to the next segment here. Our next segment will be... I want to go to a Men's Health article that I read called 11 Apps That You Should Delete from Your Phone Immediately.
Okay.
All right, so let's... I didn't do them all because some of them were a little... Like, these apps that do certain things, and then they listed like 20 different apps. So if you want to look up the rest of these, then you can go ahead and look up Men's Health. 11 apps that you should delete from your phone immediately. All right, so let's go. The number 2 one they had on there was TikTok. Now, obviously, we all know that these companies are stealing data, massive amounts of data from you, to know everything they can about you, so they can push things that they can sell on you.
And that was number 2, you said.
That was number 2. Number 1 was some kind of gas buddy app. I don't know. It's basically just data collection, but it actually told you where to buy the cheapest gas.
Okay.
Anyways, TikTok for the data collection and its ties to the Chinese government. If you did not already know, its mother company is a Chinese-based company. I don't remember what the exact name of the company is, but there's also a TikTok in China. So, next up, there was Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook login apps. They're basically just regular apps. You can see the list on the article, but you download them. They steal your Facebook password,
okay,
and then they can use your Facebook password to push advertisements and stuff like that. I've seen it happen to people before.
What if you don't have Facebook?
If you don't have Facebook, you don't have nothing to worry about. Which, we'll hop to number 6 then, which I am 100% surprised that Men's Health actually put this on the list because of how popular it is. But Facebook, number 6 was actually Facebook.
Yeah, well, they're doing the same thing TikTok is.
Right. It's a data harvesting app. It's a social media site. It lets you connect to other people, but it's also tracking your data, all their data. Also, that app is the reason why I don't use it, is always running in the background. You cannot turn that app off. It will run constantly. It will constantly push notifications on you. It is everything you're doing on your phone. It knows what you're doing. It's harvesting that data, selling it to advertisers, and collecting it for God knows who knows what in the future.
Yeah, well, that's how they make a lot of their money, is selling data, quite honestly. You may think it's from advertisements and so on and so forth, but no, it's basically selling your data.
Yeah.
Your personal data.
Your personal data. I'm going to go back up the list. I'm going to go up to number 4, which is Angry Birds. So Angry Birds also collects your data, obviously. A lot of these apps do. A lot of free apps.
Yeah, probably most of them I've seen, right?
A lot of free apps are taking your data for whatever they want to, and they can sell it for. In fact, the NSA and its British counterpart found that the app was collecting from an ad platform on their app, was collecting your phone number, your call logs, your location, your political and sexual orientation. It was stealing all that information from your phone.
Yeah, I got a question that I'm going to ask you off camera about that. Remind me.
Okay. All right, so let's go to I'm going to drop down further, down to number 8, RAM saving apps. So I don't know if you've ever had the apps on your phone which you hit the button and it says optimize, right? So it's supposedly optimizing your phone to make it move faster. That does not do anything. It literally does nothing. It's just there to make you feel better. But at the same time, it's selling you advertisements. It's collecting your data. It does nothing.
Just pattern developing.
Just get it off your phone. Now I skipped a couple, and I found one that was somewhat interesting to me, to the fact that I had to look it up further.
Okay.
And it's called Randonautica. So basically, it takes you to random locations on the map using Google Maps. You can do it either in person or through Google Earth. Obviously, it steals your data. They all steal your data.
Pattern.
Yes. But, so it's basically randomly generating a point. So the thing that was interesting to me was like, all right, where is this thing sending you? What kind of places? If you look it up and if you put the things, say, I want to go somewhere. Here, give me a place on a map. So I read the description of the app.
Okay, well, okay, number one, clarify for me, are they, like, putting it, like, in a GPS on your phone, like,
Yes.
drive there, or are they
Yes.
just showing you a picture of it?
Well, you can drive there, you can do either, or you can either...
What if they send you to, like, Belize or something?
Well, it generally sends you somewhere local. I'm sure.
Okay.
I've never been on the app. I'm guessing you put, like, a certain mileage that you're willing to move.
Okay,
go.
all right. Fair enough, yeah. Like,
So I read the description. It was just mumbo jumbo. It's all trying to act like it's like some kind of magical thing where you're gonna investigate and find more about the world. So I decided that I wanted to see what other people thought of the apps. And my favorite part of any app is finding the lowest rated ratings and then reading what they wrote about. And this,
please tell me you have some with it.
well, I have the random locations. Some of the random locations that they sent people.
Now these are also the lowest rated.
Yes.
Okay.
So one person was sent into the middle of a swamp. Okay. Another person was sent to their neighbor's house.
I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, what if you just put in, like, say, my address here, and, like, you're willing to travel, like, 0.1 miles?
Yep.
I mean,
Another person was sent to multiple farm fields.
multiple farm fields.
Right in the middle of farm fields, where there's actually nothing to discover. But here's the thing.
There's probably corn to discover.
Yeah, right.
I would assume.
So another thing that somebody found themselves at was in the middle of a lake.
Middle of a lake?
Right. So we're going to have to get on a boat and get to this point out in the middle of a lake.
Maybe this app knows where Excalibur is.
Maybe it does. Maybe Excalibur is right in the middle of that lake, and Randonautica was trying to point you in the direction of a mystical weapon.
I mean, fair enough. If you ever find this particular app, taking you to the middle of a lake, reach out to me because I have scuba gear.
Go down there. You can be king of England.
It'd be awesome if someone contacts me, like, "Hey, my name's Arthur."
And there's a sword in the middle of
"You're the
a
chosen one." This app is taking me to the middle of a lake. I'm like, I know what's there.
It's either a sword or your death.
I'm not necessarily saying that I have oxygen in my scuba gear either.
You're just gonna throw them out in the lake with some super scared and drive off.
Obviously, we'll get it filled up first.
All right, okay.
Yeah, obviously, not to try to encourage anyone dying.
All right, let's move on to just a more or less like a regular news story here. We got reporting from WJW TV in Cleveland. A former FedEx driver dumped packages into an Alabama ravine. A man by the name of Devontae Charleston, between the dates of November 17th to November 24th.
Was this FedEx driver working from FedEx in Alabama or in Cleveland?
In Alabama.
Oh, but the Cleveland station was reporting.
Well, I mean, I was probably looking at different stuff that happened in Cleveland because my family's kind of from Cleveland, so I kind of got drug in that direction of Cleveland type news, but it was just being reported from there. So he's being charged with 5 counts of cargo theft. They have identified and found 153 of these packages. They either cannot identify or cannot identify or find 247 of
many of these packages are already in the Gulf of Mexico? That's my
I mean,
question.
I don't know where this ravine goes. I mean, I would, in my mind, in Alabama, my picturing of a ravine is just a freaking empty freaking giant valley. I don't know.
Okay.
But, so this affected about 450 customers. 450 people without their packages because the guy just didn't decide that he didn't want to deliver them.
Okay, well, what do you think he did for the rest of the day after he did his packages?
I'm guessing taking a nap or something. I don't know. Pull up
suspect,
somewhere on the side of the road.
I suspect something more malicious.
Okay. Well, what is this malicious thing? Not for broadcast.
Do it. Yeah, probably not.
All right. So he $24,700 worth of packages are uncovered.
Prostitutes.
Okay. I mean, who knows? $24,700 worth of packages.
Almost $25,000.
Yes. So his reasoning was behind this is because he lost a family member. He had other issues in his life. I mean, these things are all understandable. Everybody's got problems in their life, but if you just don't want to deliver the packages, you might as well have just called out because now you're in a whole lot more trouble than losing your job for just not showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to assume he's being charged with felonies and everything at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's long-standing implications.
And here's the strange part of the story. The strange part of the story
There's a
is
shipment of dildos.
I mean, that might have been part of it, and there might be some ladies out there that didn't get their hands on their dildos fast enough. Currently, he is working with a different company, delivering packages right now.
No way.
Yep.
I'm assuming he left his FedEx job off of his recent resume.
I mean, I would. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, think about it, too, at the same point in time, sometimes, a charge like that will take like 2 months to show up on a background check.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, they're going to know about it sooner or later.
Yeah. Especially if they watch the news.
Right.
In Cleveland.
And they find some packages not being delivered. Let's get into something a little bit dark.
Dark.
A little dark
All right.
segment here. So, an assisted suicide pod has been cleared for use in Switzerland.
Cleared for use, like government approved.
Approved, ready to go. Set it outside in the middle of the streets in Switzerland. You can hop in this pod and you can end your own life.
In the middle of the street?
Well, I mean, you're definitely going to end your life if you're in the middle of the street. So, what's the difference? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What
do you think?
What does this pod look like? I mean,
but first of all, is there going to be like some kind of a store where you have to put these pods in, like a little? Is it going to be like a little mini market? You're going to have like suicide pods in, so people are going to stop by, or are they going? You think it's going to be more like a telephone? You think it would be more like a telephone booth or something like
from
that?
Futurama, the suicide booth?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do these pods look like?
They look like.
Okay, this is how I see it.
Right.
I mean, you've seen a picture of this, right?
Right.
I have not. I envision it. Have you ever seen like the old Star Trek movies?
Yes.
You know what the photon torpedo capsules look like? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I envision it look like.
It does somewhat look like that. I would cross that with one of the flying cars in the Jetsons. It looks a cross between the two of those things.
Is it like see-through?
Yes.
So you can see into it.
Yes.
The minute, the second.
Well, at least the picture that I saw, you could see through. Yeah.
Okay. I think that this was probably created by a narcissist.
It was created by Dr. Philippe Nischke. By the way, the company's name is Exit International.
What?
The company's company's name is Exit International.
Exit Internet.
If
That's got to be a joke, man.
If that's not dark, I don't know what it is.
That's got to be a joke. Hey, well, you know what? That's probably the first company that's actually been named right ever. Exit International. Woo!
So this part kind of got my my blood moving a little bit. It's a little intense. The description of what happens inside of these pods, just to picture yourself in this situation. They reduce oxygen level 21% within 30 seconds. So basically, they're taking oxygen away from you, and you're basically suffocating. The doctor, Dr. Philippe Nishke, says they will feel disoriented, then they will feel euphoric, and then they will lose consciousness. And there is no panic, and there is no choking.
Interesting. Okay. Do they pump the thing full of oxygen? First. Because
they didn't say that.
If you ever watch Fight Club, you know that oxygen gets you high.
Right.
So, is that what leads them to the euphoric feeling?
I don't know. I've also heard of oxygen poisoning too. So I don't know if you could reverse the process and pump a whole bunch of oxygen into it.
Bring people back from the dead?
No, not after they're dead. I'm talking about.
We did that last week.
But like I said, I've heard of maybe it just takes a long time to die of oxygen poisoning, but oxygen rich. I'd have to do some research.
Yeah. Once again, that sounds like another science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Some people got to get to work.
All right, that's all I have for the news.
All right, well,
for different news stories.
I have a question for you.
Right.
Before we go. Let's say you were diagnosed with terminal cancer. Would you use one of these devices?
I think I'd go in a little bit messier fashion. Because suffocating to me doesn't sound like, personally in my opinion, the way to go. Even though they explain it as the way of being euphoric and then passing out, I'd rather just have it click and be done.
It's fair enough, I guess. I don't know. Me personally, yeah, I don't know. I would have to see whether or not the technology is actually proven.
Right.
Has anyone actually tried this thing yet?
Not that I know of. I'm sure throughout history, obviously, people have suffocated to death, but I don't know the process of feeling euphoric. But even if they go through the process, they're not going to be able to explain it to you. They're already gone.
Right, but I also, from the way you describe the thing, it's got a clear bubble where,
right.
So you can watch. So, obviously, when someone panics or whatever, you'll be able to know.
Personally, I don't want to watch. It's not something that I would want to watch.
Well, like I said, the guy that created this thing is a narcissist.
Probably.
Because he put a clear dome on it.
Yes.
So.
Well, that's what the picture showed. I don't know if in reality that's the way it would look.
You don't know. So basically, you don't know if that's the residential model.
Yeah.
That's probably the commercial model.
Shoot, I think I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Yeah, we went down a little bit of rabbit hole there. Yeah. Anyway, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here this week. If you enjoyed this particular bit of content, remember to share,
subscribe.
Oh, yeah, hit that bell button. I'm, of course, Gregor Guy, joined here by Mr. Casey. Thanks for putting that together, Mr. Casey.
You're welcome.
And we will see you, ladies and gentlemen, next time.